this was another review for our Unit 1 test. The first one says list 5 multiples of the number. Remember, multiples are the bigger numbers, they're the answers. So for the first one with 3, anything that uses 3 in the problem, the answer is a multiple. So we could do 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and so on. You may have some written that I didn't there, because as long as 3 can get to it, it counts. We normally find it by counting. So for 10, we can say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and so on. For 7, it can be 7, 14, 20, 28, 35, 42, and on. And 15 would be 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90, and so on. Remember, multiples are the bigger numbers. Multiply, see that multiply? You have to multiply this to get to a multiple. Number 2 is the factors. Factors, where the goal number is the answer, and we are just looking to make the problem. So the only way to multiply to get to 2 is 1 times 2. And when there's only 2 factors, the answer is prime. If there's more than 2, it's composite, but if there's just 2, it's prime. Remember, 2 is our special one. It's the only even number that is prime. For 27, I can do 1 times 27. I always start with that one because 1 works with every number. And now I have to go through my facts to see which works. 2 does not work because it's not even. 3 works, and its partner is 9. And then I need to keep going until I either get to halfway through the number or find a number I've already used. So 4 does not work, neither does 5, or 6, or 7, or 8, and 9 I already have written. That's how I check to make sure I have all my factors. And now I can see I have 4 factors, which means it's composite because it has more than 2. 13, the only factors are 1 and 13. And because there's only 2 factors, it is prime. And 30, I start with 1 and 30. And then again, I have to go through my numbers. It is even, so 2 will work, and 2's partner is 15. And then I try 3, and 3 will work, and his partner is 10. 4 does not work, but 5 works, and the partner is 6. And since the next number I would try is 6, that tells me that I have them all. And because there's way more than 2, it is composite. Number 3 and 4, you could pick a whole bunch of different numbers, but for all of them, the reason it is prime, it only has 2 factors. And those 2 factors are very specific. 1 and itself. Okay, so you could pick any prime number. You could pick 2, well, not 2 because we used it, a new one. So you could pick 3, 5, 7, 11, 17. There's a bunch of prime numbers. Same with composite number. There's a bunch of different numbers you can choose. And it's composite because it has 3 or more, or you could say more than 2. And you might want to list your factors for that number if you want, just to make sure. But a reason is because it has 3 or more factors. Number 5. Circle the equation that means 6 times 7 equals 42. A is 6 folders and 7 folders together. Together typically means add, so I think that one's probably not it. Letter B says 7 erasers divided by. Well, I don't want to divide, I want to multiply. So that one's not going to be right. Letter C, the difference between 7 and 6. Well, difference tends to mean subtract, and I don't want to subtract, so that one isn't right. And letter D, 42 crayons are 7 times the 6, and that's what I want it to do, and it equals 42, so letter D is my answer. Number 6, circle the two equations that best represent the situation. Roger cleaned for 35 minutes. It's 5 times as long as his sister Anita. How many minutes, so we're looking for an M, did Anita clean? So Roger had 35, and I need to get to Anita. Well, 5 times Anita would equal 35, and that is what my equation is asking for. 35 divided by Anita would give me that 5 times. So that one works too. It's that same fact family. 35 minus 5, that won't work. And 35 times 5 would give me a lot more minutes, but Roger cleans more than a sister, so that one's not right. So our two equations are A and B. Number 7, Cody is 9 years old. Cody's cousin is 3 times older than Cody. How old is Cody's cousin? We need an equation in our answer. Remember, in our equation, we want to check that variable. So Cody is 9, and his cousin is 3 times that. So we have 9 and 3 times to equal Cody's cousin, so we'll put a C. And then we need to do our work to find 9 times 3. Know your fact, then you can write your answer. If you don't, you need to use a strategy to figure it out. But we get that his cousin is 27 years old. E. Leo bought a bike and a scooter. The bike cost 3 times as much as the scooter. The scooter cost 26. How much did the bike cost? Well, the bike was 3 times the scooter, and the scooter was 26. So if I do 3 times 26, I get the cost of the bike. And we need to do our work somehow. I'm going to do it up here in the traditional way, and then I'll show that break apart way. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So I get that the bike costs $78. If you like the break apart way, we would do 20 times 3, and we'd look at our facts. 2 times 3 is 6, and we add that 0 back on, so 60. And then we do 6 times 3, and get 18, and then add our two parts together to get that 78. Okay? If you're not comfortable with either one of those, you could use any strategy. You could add 26 3 times. It's up to you. What we're focusing on right now is the equation and the answer label. Now we have a ratio table. I see that in one student I have 9 folders. So it looks like my pattern is going to be to multiply by 9. So 2 times 9 is 18. 5 times 9 would give me 45. 9 times 9 is 81. And 11 times 9 is 99. Number 10, it's multiplying looking at the strategy of an array or an open array where we're not drawing in every box. So something times 8 is going to give me 32, and that answer is 4. And something times 9 equals 27, and that's 3. Number 11 is practicing our facts. 2 times 9 is 18. Here's an extended fact. 8 times 10 is 80. 7 times 8 is 56. 6 times 4 is 24. 25 times 8 is 200. And I knew that one because I know that 4 quarters equals $1. So that 8 quarters must equal $2 or 200. 4 times 7 is 28. 5 times 6 is 30. 20 times 4 is 80. And 40 times 2 is 80. These two have the same basic fact that 4 times 2. They just switched which number got the 0. Number 12. There are 4 students at the front table. They each brought 2 packs of pencils to school. The whole class needs 6 times as many packs of pencils as the entire front table brought to last the whole year. How many packs of pencils does the class need? Well, I have 4 students at the front table, and they each brought in 2 packs of pencils. The class needs 6 times as many as the entire front table. So let's look at, I'm going to solve it when we get to my equation. I know that the front table, and I like labeling when there's a lot of stuff. The front table did 4 students, and they each brought 2 packs. Remember that each reminds me to multiply. So for my 4 times 2 equals 8. That's that first step. Then the class needs 6 times as many as the entire front table. Well, the entire front table brought 8, and I need 6 times that. So 8 times 6 is 48. So we must need 48 packs of pencils. And then my 2 steps gives me my equation. The first part I'm going to put in parentheses because I had to do that first. So we did 4 times 2, and that was my front table. And then we had to multiply that answer by 6 to get the whole class versus number of pencils. So sometimes it helps to solve and label it to get to that equation so we can actually see what we were doing. Number 13. Caitlin saw 6 columns of colored pencils in a box of 54 colored pencils. How many colored pencils are in each column? Well, the box of 54, that's my whole amount. And I saw 6 columns. So if I were going to draw kind of my array, I would have 54 on the inside and 6 on the outside. So something here needs to multiply with 6 to give me 54. So my equation is 6 times something, I'm going to put in P, equals 54. My division equation is just working that backwards. 54 divided by 6 equals that number. And I have 9 colored pencils that need to fill in each row. Number 14. Doug bought shoes and a pair of socks. The shoes cost $75. The socks cost $15. How many times more than the socks did the shoes cost? Okay, so the shoes were 75, and that's the biggest number. So it's going to equal 75, and the socks were 15. And it wants to know how many times more was one than the other. Okay, so there's my multiplication equation. Then to help me figure it out, my division equation would be putting in my fact family a different way. And it would end up being 5 times 4. And number 14. The girls' table has 4 students, and each girl brought 4 pens. The boys' table has 4 students, and each brought in 2 pens. After they collected the pens, Mr. Collins divided them evenly among the students at these 2 tables. How many pens did each student get? And this one's just like the one above. I'm going to kind of solve it and label it so I can see exactly what my work was to be able to pick my equation. So I need to know how many pens were brought in and then split them up. So the girls' table has 4 students, and each brought in 4 pens. So my girls each brought in 4, and there was 4 of them. So they did 4 times 4, and they brought in 16. My boys had 4 students also, and they brought in 2 pens. So they had 4 students times their 2 pens, so they brought in 8 each. Then they collected all the pens, and he divided them evenly. Well, then I need to figure out how many I had, so I need to add my girls' amount and my boys' amount. So they had 24, and then it says I had to divide them evenly. So now I need to divide by all the students. Well, I had 4 girls and 4 boys, so I had 8 total students. So they each had 3 pens. And I like breaking down the problem like that because that's the way it makes the most sense to me. And I know my answer is they each got 3 pens. Okay? Now I need to find the equation that matches it. Well, the first thing I did was 4 times 4. I see a 4 times 4 here, an A, and C, and in D. I don't see 4 times 4 in B, so I'm going to cross that one off. The next part I see is 4 times 2. I see a 4 times 2 with A, C, and D still. Then I added my answers for those, so I need to find one that has an addition symbol in between each, and A, C, and D still have that. So I haven't narrowed it down yet. And then I see that I took that answer and I divided 8. My first one multiplies by 8. That's not going to work. I didn't do that. My second one doesn't do anything to split them up, so that's not it. So my answer must be D, where we divided by 8. So I can match each step. Here's my girl step, the boy step, putting them together, and splitting up the whole class. And I got 3 pens. That is our review sheet for our test for Unit 1.